So hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and today we're finally gonna take a look at the other two stances for the single sword weapons. So Iron Phoenix and Crimson Dervish. Now I already made a video about Vengeful Revenant, and if you wanna watch it, all you have to do is click the annotation that's on the screen right now. And we're gonna start it off with Iron Phoenix, which is described as a stance with fast cutting attacks with puncture finish, and it has an R polarity which matches the Dark Sword, Ether Sword, Jaw Sword and the Plasma Sword. So the first combo is called Wings and Beak, and this is your standard EE button mash, and it starts off with two regular strikes, which are followed by a strike that does 200% damage and procs impact. And the final strike that procs impact is a very nice dash that gives you pretty good amount of mobility. The second combo is called Taking Flight, and to execute this one you have to pause after the second attack. And this one starts off with two regular strikes, and after the pause you will do a double strike that does 200% damage and likes to hit headshots. Then you will do two separate regular strikes, and you will finish it off with a slam that does damage in a very wide area. Now if you have either the Heat Sword, Mire, Ether Sword, Plasma Sword or the Dark Sword, instead of doing a slam with a knockdown, you will do an AoE attack that procs the innate elemental damage those weapons have. So with the Heat Sword you will do a Heat proc, with Mire and Dark Sword you will do a Toxin proc, with the Ether Sword it will be Radiation proc, and with the Plasma Sword it will be an Electricity proc. Now out of all the units that drop this stance, the best one to farm is the Grineer Lancer. So you want to do Grineer missions that are up to level 15, because at level 15 the normal Lancers are replaced with the Elite Lancers and they don't drop this stance. Now this makes Iron Phoenix pretty easy to get, because the Lancers are, I think, the most common unit in the Grineer army. They're the dudes running around with Grakatas. They are everywhere. Now, unfortunately, this stance was always overshadowed by Crimson Dervish, because Crimson Dervish just does more damage. And now that we have Vengeful Revenant, it's also under Vengeful Revenant as well. And that is, as I've said, unfortunate, because this stance is a lot of fun. It may not do as much damage as Crimson Dervish or Vengeful Revenant, but it doesn't do low damage. I mean, you're gonna feel like a bloody pain train with this stance. And I like that. I like bulldozing through a group of enemies, just smashing them into pieces. So all in all, I really like this stance. And moving on to Crimson Dervish, which is described as a stance with strong whirlwind attacks, and it has a V polarity which matches Broken War, Cronus, Dakra Prime, Heat Sword, Mire, Pangolin Sword, Prisma Scana, Scana, and Scana Prime. So the first combo is called Crimson Orbit, and this is your standard EE button mash. And this combo starts off with two strikes that do 300% damage, and it ends with an AoE double strike that does 300% damage. The second combo is called Twisting Flurry, and to execute this one you have to tap backwards with the fourth attack. And this one starts off once again with two strikes that do 300% damage and an AoE double strike that does 200% damage. And the fourth attack is an AoE triple strike that procs Blast. And the third and final combo is called Coiling Impale, and this one is really easy to do. Just hold the block button while mashing the melee button. So we start off once again with two strikes that do 300% damage and an AoE double strike that does 300% damage. And the fourth attack is an AoE triple strike that procs Impact. And if someone dares to survive this combo, the final attack will also open them up for a counterattack finisher. And if they still survive that, counterattack finishers usually knock the enemy on their ass, allowing you to use another finisher. This is the strongest melee combo in the entire game. And finally we have the charge attack, which is the same for all three stances, and it's a two-stage attack that can be repeated indefinitely and does an absolute truck ton of damage. And this stance drops on the Grineer Bombards, and I already made a full farming guide for this stance, so if you want to watch it, all you have to do is click the annotation that's on the screen right now. But if you don't want to watch it, they have a base spawning level of 1, and from all the testing I did, Deception is probably the best mission for farming them. Now, Crimson Dervish does a lot of damage. It does more damage than Vengeful Revenant or any other stance that's in the game right now. But that's about it. It doesn't have a lot of mobility, it restricts your movement quite a bit, and let's stop beating around the bush, I don't like this stance. I would rather play with Iron Phoenix or Vengeful Revenant. And it's probably because I just don't give a damn about damage. I really don't. I would rather have fun than do a lot of damage. And both Iron Phoenix and Vengeful Revenant are more fun than Crimson Dervish for me. With Crimson Dervish you are this slow yet deadly ball of death. But I prefer feeling like a cannonball. You know, you fly through enemies really fast and you leave nothing but body parts behind. And that's what you get with Iron Phoenix and Vengeful Revenant. But that's very much a personal preference, so if you have the opportunity, you should definitely try it out. So in conclusion, Crimson Dervish does an absolute truck ton of AoE damage, but for me, the playstyle is just too slow. And Iron Phoenix feels kind of like Vengeful Revenant, but just not as good, since Vengeful Revenant is a newer stance, so it doesn't restrict your movement as much, and it just feels more fluid. But, yes, we have one more but, Iron Phoenix is much easier to get than both Crimson Dervish and Vengeful Revenant. So if you don't have any stances for the single sword weapons, you should probably go for Iron Phoenix, alright? And that's pretty much it for the sword stances, so I thank you very much for watching once again. If you're interested in other stances, you can click the link in the description and it will take you to the Warframe stances playlist. And I will see you next time. Bye bye.